Hi, welcome back to another web development video where I show you how to make modern websites using HTML5, CSS3, and a little bit of JavaScript. In this video, I'm going to kind of go back to my roots, and I started this channel several years ago, really just as a way to help people use this new program called MobiRise. And MobiRise is now in version 4. Back then it was version 1. And so I'm going to show you how to make a basic landing page type website, just a one-page website using MobiRise. And I'm going to use a real product. This is an app that I've created. It's called Skimmer. And Skimmer is a news app that I made maybe 2 years ago or so. I released it about 2 years ago, I guess. And it doesn't have a proper website. The app website is the website, so it's skimmer.news, N-E-W-S. And you can go there now. It's just a web application that allows you to skim the news as opposed to like going into deep dives. It's sort of a meta layer between search and actually going to the website to read the news where the news website is. So you can skim the articles and decide if you want to actually go into the website and read the article all the way. I just wanted an application where I could do that. I don't like to spend hours reading about the news. I just want to sort of get a top level view of what's happening, and then if I want to dig deeper, then I'll go in and dig deeper. So we're going to create that website. So I have, I think, the assets that I need in already for creating the website. And MobiRise is great. It's a drag and drop tool for basic websites. I would say anything from 1 to 5 pages, but they have lots of add-ons and different things that you can do. I have the advantage of a couple of add-ons, so I can add HTML and CSS directly to a block, so I can create my own elements basically. And there are a couple others, icons and some comments and things like that that are just free add-ons that I have. But I'm going to try to do this without any of that, just using the MobiRise editor and the sort of the pre-filled blocks that they have, and try to create the look and feel of the application that I'm talking about. And I'll show you the app so we can sort of see direction that we're going. And just go to skimmer.news, and this is the app here. And you can see relatively basic and loads quickly, and there's a font that I want to use here, and then I'm going to try to pull in maybe this orange color here just as a spot color. There's no other real colors in the app. It's a lot of gray. These turn gold, so that particular orange color, that's the color that we're going to focus on. And it's going to be a lot of white or gray, like very light gray. But I have some assets as well. So if we go, should have had this open. Let's go to the Skimmer folder, and we have one asset here, which is like a basic mock-up in a phone, so we can use that. And what else do we have? We have the logo. Well, we have a couple of others here. So this is the without the phone, and then this is inside the phone. We have some image assets here that we could use. Mostly these are just the icons that we use for the application, for the actual website. So we could use one of these icons somewhere. And the font is a Google font. It's called Merriweather. So we check that. That should be easy to reproduce. Oh, sorry, Source Serif Pro. So that's actually a Google font as well. So we should be able to bring that in and reproduce, we could reproduce this whole logo up here. This is just a piece of text with our logo So we should be able to reproduce that. And yeah, so I'm going to just sort of walk you through not only how to use MobiRise, but how to set up a one-page website. Maybe you have a small business that doesn't warrant a bunch of pages or a bunch of text. Maybe you don't have a lot of marketing copy, but you do have a product, you have a service, and you want to be online. You don't have a specific URL for your business, and you don't want it to be Facebook or on some social media site, but you want an actual website. So you bought web hosting space, you have a URL, now you just need a website. I'm going to show you how to get that up and going. This is going to be mobile responsive, so it's going to look good on mobile devices. MobiRise does that automatically and gives you the mobile menu and all the different things. So let's get started. This is a fresh installation of MobiRise, and there's nothing here. It's all just the base websites. In fact, this is the original website. It has some pre-filled kind of blocks, and I just deleted all those. So we're starting totally blank, and you can see that it's an empty page. So click the plus icon to add a new block, and that's down here. You can add a new block to the page, and I'm going to start with one of these menus. This is a real basic site, and I actually don't have any pages or anything, so it's going to make it quite a bit easier and make it go a little bit more quickly. So let's just choose this one. It's a light color, and it has the logo here. Let's configure this. So to configure a block, you just go to the gear icon. You can move the block down the page or up the page, and then you can also open the code editor. So I have the code editor extension installed where I can actually go in and directly manipulate the code. Excuse me. I can manipulate the code. So that's a big advantage. It's $69, I think, to buy the code editor. But if you know any HTML, or if you want to do anything more advanced, it allows you to do all that inside of MobiRise. That way, there's a way to do it outside of MobiRise where you publish it, and then you have to, basically create the HTML in a separate code editor. But this way, everything stays right inside the program. So you'll see the benefit as you maintain the website. So if all you're doing is just sort of creating something and then you're going to maintain the code somewhere else, that's a good option. But if you want to maintain everything inside the code, inside the MobiRise editor, then it's worth the one-time price to buy the code editor. So let's just look at our block parameters. I don't want to show the logo, but I do want to show the brand name. So that's where I'm going to put our brand name first. We'll see how that goes. I might want to add the logo in. I do want to show menu items, and I do want to show the button. Actually, I don't need those. I just need sort of a call to action to go to Skimmer and read. I don't know what I'm going to say exactly, but I want to show that. I don't want it to be sticky. I don't care. What happens when it's sticky is it sticks to the top when you scroll. You've seen that. But I'm not going to have any navigation. Actually, let's just make it sticky. So I want my call to action to show all the time. As you're going down the page, sort of learning more about the app, I want that call to action to always be there. There'll be one here in the header too. Do I want it to be transparent? No, not necessarily. The background color's fine. This is a good place for us to put our orange color. So I'm going to go back to here. I'm just going to try to find this orange color. Let's see. Maybe in the star, there it is. Okay, so this orange color is the one that I want. I'm going to come back, and for the hamburger menu, so on a mobile device, the little 3-line menu, that's going to be this color. So if you click on more, then you can actually, you can choose a whole bunch of different colors, or you can just fill in a color that you've already done before. So we get our orange color. This won't show up until you do that, but you can see on a mobile device, then it's going to show that orange color, which is exactly what we want. So this button switches you between the mobile view and the desktop view, so you can see what it's going to look like on a phone. We can come in and just clicking on things allows you to change the text. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to do a skimmer like that, and I want to change the font here. And the font that I want to use, they give you sort of a baseline font. It's called Rubik. And if you click on more fonts, they give you the option to get more fonts. You can get fonts from your computer. These are all Google fonts, and there are also some, there's some fonts that come with each particular theme if you download a MobiRise theme. So ours is going to be called Source Sans Pro, or Source Serif Pro. And so we're just going to add that to our website. And then you can see that it's changed it up here to Source Serif Pro, and now it's part of our list. So that's actually been added to the website. I also want the text to be that. Let's just make everything this one this one font. If you don't really know what kind of font to choose for your website, just start with one font and see how it goes. Mixing and matching fonts is a whole science, and you can get it wrong really easily. So going with one font across all of your text, and then just changing size, or whether it's bold or italic or whatever, that actually will be a little bit easier and make it look nicer if everything is all in the same font family. So you can see these are our sizes, and we'll see that more as we go along. In the menu, I want this to be like maybe 1.5, and you can see that it grows this a little bit more. Since we don't have any menu items, I'm not too worried about necessarily the size of this. Okay, that looks good. Actually, our button, where was it? So if we click here, where are our main styles here? So the primary color is not going to be that, it's going to be this color. Okay, that's going to be our main action color, our primary color. So that's how we want our button to be. To change our button text, we just click inside of it, and we can do something like that. Let's just make everything lowercase, just to keep with the branding. And I don't want this font or this icon, so I'm going to say remove the icon. And so now I just have my call to action up here. And as we add more things, when we scroll down the page, we'll see how this all works, that it sticks to the top. Okay, so the next part we need to add is I'm going to add a big hero image, something like this, but I want it to be, let's see if we have something more like this, maybe. Let's just go with this. This is sort of the main one that they give you. Okay, so this is a full screen, what we call a hero section, or an introduction, or a header, and it just gives you a really nice graphic entryway. Really quickly shows what you're about, what's your style, what's your product, what can I expect from you. It's like when someone walks into the door and you see how they're dressed, Immediately you start to make assumptions based on the way they're dressed. Sometimes those assumptions are not correct because the person is not trying to give off that vibe. But regardless what they want, that's typically how we deal with things. So whenever people are looking at your website, the font you choose, the colors you choose, the style you choose, the type of photography or the type of images, whether it's illustration or photography or no images, all of those things are saying particular things about you and about your company and your product. So when you go to an Apple website, you're expecting very clean, very focused photography. So not like this where there's a bunch of people all over the place, but you're expecting very focused product photography, very basic, very simple, very clean. That's usually the word people use for it. Rounded corners, like those are all things that are associated with the product. So that's what you're expecting when you hold an Apple device and you go to the website. If it was all sharp corners and purple and pink, like those just wouldn't be Apple-y necessarily. Maybe those are highlight colors, but those wouldn't be the primary or dominant colors. You would think of those things: purple, pink, orange, yellow, bright, lime green. You would think of stuff like that for Nike, but not for Apple. Even though they both have sort of this corporate, very strong feel about them, they're definitely two different feeling companies. So Apple's going to be black, white, and gray, and very typography based, very simple, basic, clean. And then Nike's sort of going to be all over the place, very bold, in your face, big typography, very evocative images, even for the products. So when you think about companies and how they're different, you just think about, what is my company's style? Like, what is our flavor? Is it classic, traditional, modern? Like, just thinking about who you are and what you're doing. Now, Skimmer, we're not skimmering, we're skimming. So Skimmer, you can see I've already decided the style here. Very basic, very bare bones, very typography based, small images, and all right. So as we have our side here, and this is called a hero section. We're gonna dive into the hero here. So let's look at what sort of options that we have for the block. We can choose to go full screen or only take up the amount of space that the text and everything inside of it takes up. Let's do full screen. I don't want to show the arrow. I do want to show the title. There's also a subtitle that you can choose, which I'm not going to. We can show text and buttons. We can change the background image. Parallax controls, you see how the background and the text is moving not at the same time. They're moving differently. If you take that off, you can see that they all move at the same rate. Okay, so parallax is an interesting scrolling effect. Kind of gives it some nice style, I guess. Shows sort of a modern sensibility. If you take the overlay off, then it just gives you whatever the image looks like. Which I think I'm going to take that off because I want our image to be the phone. So in fact, I might even do a color as opposed to some background image. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think I need to add a different block. So before I get too far, I'm just going to remove that block, and I'm going to add a different kind of block. I want to add one that has an image on one side and text on the other. So that's going to be something like this, which should be good. So let's set it to full screen, and I'm gonna do a background color, and then we'll have our image here of the phone. So we'll need to browse our computer and upload that image. I just have to grab it real fast. So I'm fighting off some allergies or something. So we look in our skimmer folder and we have our mobile mockup, and we'll just upload that to our website and use that here. Okay, so now we have our image. We can add an alt title, which is when you think about an alt title, this is what happens if the image does not show up. It's also the text that gets read. So obviously someone who is on a screen reader who can't see the image, maybe they have vision problems or they're just blind, then they're using a screen reader to read the page to them. So whenever the alt text is read, that's what's read instead of showing an image. Or if the image is there, they can't see the image, but they can hear the text being read. So it's sort of a descriptive text, and it almost always starts with the words image of. So you don't want to say image of. So you just kind of have it in your head. Image of, what is this? Skimmer News app. Mockup in a phone. And I don't remember if that's an iPhone or not. I think it's Android. It doesn't really matter. And for the title, that's like when you put the mouse over something and a little pop-up shows up when you hover the mouse and just let it rest on top of an image. There's a little pop-up that comes up, which also can give more context. So we can just say Skimmer News app. Something like that. I don't know if it'll let us see here. Yeah, it won't give us a real preview there. You can link the image to somewhere, but I don't really want to link the image. I want there to be a button that we use for that. So we'll just say OK. And now we have our image here. So let's just go ahead and we'll just make this here the product name. So we're sort of introducing Skimmer. So whenever you're building a page for your website, you want to answer some particular questions. Who, what, when, where, why, how. And if you can answer those particular questions efficiently and in an order in a way that makes sense, so that when someone comes to your page, the first question they have is what? Who are you? What do you do? Why am I here? What is there? What do you have for me? So these are the sorts of questions that we're trying to answer with our marketing material on the website. So they come to Skimmer. There needs to be something that sort of grounds them. That's why we have all this header information up here. You know, typically whenever you're doing a search, you're searching for text. And so if you see some text or you get to a web page and it says whatever the text was that you clicked, then that helps you to say, okay, I'm at a legitimate place. I'm in the right place. If you click on text and then it says something totally different when you get there, then that's not a good thing for your brand, because you're not helping the user through a flow and a process. So they're searching you out, they find you, your link looks interesting, so they click on it, and when they get to your website, is what you're saying in line with what their expectations are? So they've searched for Skimmer. The first thing they see at the top left is the brand name, Skimmer. And then here they can see maybe even Skimmer News app. And then here we're going to give them just a little bit of context for what is Skimmer. Skimmer is it's an international news app that's perfect for skimming news headlines. So that's sort of the value proposition. So what does your product do? How is it going to help people? How do you describe it? What's your elevator pitch? So people have talked about the elevator pitch. So what is that elevator pitch? What are you going to say to me that gets me to continue on? Either scrolling down the page to learn more, or actually clicking a button and going off and trying whatever it is, or buying your product. Some people already know, they've done research on you. They already know they want to take that action of purchasing or whatever. So you might want to put that somewhere in the top of your page, just in case they're ready to purchase. Some people are going to come in and they've never heard of you before, so they're going to want to learn more about you. Some people have been researching you a little bit. Maybe they want to come back and get more information. So people are coming at your website from many different angles, and you're just trying to think about which angle do you want to accentuate the most. So a lot of people don't know about my news app. So maybe the first thing I want to do is make sure that I'm providing enough information for people to get to where they want to click and at least try it. So people probably haven't heard about it in the news, and so they're coming to the site and they just want a quick link to be able to try it because they don't actually know where to go to try it. So just a little brief section. What is it? Who, what, when, where, and why, right? So we're trying to think about those particular things. So we can choose learn more or a live demo. Learn more should probably take us down the page, maybe to the next section. We can also, if I look up skimmer as a Google search, so we have a little bit of pretext over here, and this actually gives us a little bit more context for what we're doing. So I'll take that and I'll put it in here too. So maybe even we'll just combine those two together. So Skimmer is an international news app that brings together top headlines from around the world into an easy to skim feed. So I want to say something about it being trusted news sources. So the idea for Skimmer was this. Okay, so I'm going to tell you. The idea for Skimmer was I wanted the ease and the scrollability and sort of the ease of use of a social feed like Facebook, but I wanted to be able to get trusted news from a trusted news source. But if you go to the trusted news sources, you get bombarded by ads and autoplay videos and all kinds of stupidity that's going on over there. I didn't want to have to deal with that every time I wanted to read an article or to find out what's going on. What I wanted was to be able to see sort of a snippet, just like you would on a social media feed, but I didn't want my friends telling me the news or deciding which news I should see. So I wanted to be able to combine the social media aspect of actually browsing with the trusted news source, like Reuters or CNN or whatever, the BBC, whatever the trusted news sources were. So I found this feed that brings in those trusted news sources, and then I could craft the experience. So I'm getting the best of both worlds. I'm getting their content without all of their advertising. And then I can craft an experience that feels more social media like. So I sort of combine those two worlds. So I would want to make that clear. It combines the I'm just going to write it and then edit it later. It combines the ease of social media, the ease of a social media feed with trusted news sources. With the news sources you trust. Okay, so something like that. So here's my value proposition is you can get the content that you want without having to go to those crappy news sites, and you can get it in a feed format that you're familiar with on Facebook or Twitter, but without having to rely on your friends to share the news that you want, or having to go to a news site to a news feed specifically in order to get their feed of news. So there's some other things. You can combine feeds together and create your own, like a Frankenstein feed that has different news sources, and you can just scroll through and get a bunch of news all at the same time, which is very social media like, but also you get to choose, kind of what the news is that you want to see. So there's a lot of options here. So we'll leave learn more, and then for a live demo, we won't say start skimming. We'll say try. We'll say try skimmer. Again, we're keeping everything sort of lowercase. The lowercase is a brand aspect, right? So we have everything here is lowercase. Everything here is lowercase. These things are not lowercase because it makes it easier to read. But as far as the branding is concerned, it's lowercase. So you see how I'm keeping that style all throughout. We're keeping these lowercase things. Even here, we could take it all the way. That makes it a little bit more difficult to read because it just looks like a run-on sentence. But if everything stays consistent, people's minds will actually say, okay, that makes sense. It's not a run-on sentence or a mistake. It can't be a mistake that everything on the page is lowercase. So if it were a mistake, some things would be uppercase, some things would be lowercase. So if you're going to do those things, or do all caps, or do italics, like, you just need to be very consistent with what you're doing. All right. I don't think we have any sort of options as far as how big this can be. So let's look what we have over here. We have full screen, show the title, show the buttons. Okay, the media size. So we can actually determine how big this is. So we can make it smaller or bigger. So we'll just leave it at 100. We can change what side that it's on. I like having this nice left edge here. We're going to go with the background color. We can take off the gradient, and you can just use just a solid color. I think I want to do that. And we'll just go something super light gray, and then we'll have to change all this text because this text is not the text is not the right color. So you click on the text, and then you can see here that you can get a color tab, and then the same thing, we can just change our text by clicking on it, just like you would in a Word document or something. For this particular button, there's some different colors, so we can do an outline like that, where you can see that it's showing you the inside is a transparent color, but there's a border on the outside. Could have done a different color, and now it's pink, so when you hover, it's a different color. This one, when you hover, it's black. Okay, so it just takes on whatever that outside border color is. You could do something like that, where the inside is filled in and it's not a border. So the reason that we do the outline buttons is because you want to make sure that the thing that you want them to do the most is the one that has the filled in color. So if you want them to take an action, click a button, that button needs to be very obvious that this is a place for you to take an action. Now, a button like this, you can see if you step back or you squint your eyes, you do kind of the squint test with these two. The one on the left with the color is going to pop more. The one on the right is going to sort of fade into the background. You could even fade it more by choosing a less pronounced color. So you can see that the color here is a little bit more faded, and it fades even more into the background. This is more of a gray color and sort of fades it into the background. And you could also, I think you can choose a different color. You know, you could even do a lighter color like that. And then it gives you that lighter color, right? So the button almost fades away into the background. It's there, you can see it. But if you do a kind of a squint test, that one on the left is really going to stick out a lot more than the one on the right. Now, I do want people to try Skimmer. I also want them to learn more. What do I want them to do more? Do I want them to learn more, or do I want them to try it? I already have a try Skimmer, start skimming button up here. That's going to follow us down the page. So I don't necessarily need that in the header as well. So I think keeping the learn more is really important so that people feel like they can go learn more. But this is, you know, it's an important secondary button. I want them to be able to try it too. It's got a little bit of contrast with this. So maybe they will see one and not the other, but it all goes to the same place. And I'm going to make sure that I make this a link. And this is going to go to skimmer.news. And I do want to open that in a new window. That's fine with me. So that when we click on that, it's actually going to go off into a new window. And this learn more is going to push us down to the next section. So if we go up to the eyeball, that allows us to preview the website in a browser. And so it opens it up in a browser. You can see that we have all of our options here. Maybe I want to make this background a little bit lighter. But you can see that we have our two options here. And if we click on Try Skimmer, it'll actually open right to a new page. It opens in a new tab so that people can still have access to our website, even though they have the other link open. And if we click Learn More, it doesn't do anything, or it shouldn't do anything right now. And then this one here, we also want to change this one so that it goes to skimmer.news as well. So that's something to do right here. Again, click the link, and we want it to be a web address. We'll open that in a new window, and so the same thing happens with that one as before, as this one. It'll open the website in a new window when we click it. Okay, so now you have some linking going on between your website and whatever the application, or maybe you want to link to a particular page, or you want to link to a product somewhere, or you want to link to your Facebook page, or maybe you have a specific shop, like on Shopify or something, and you want to connect this web page, this marketing piece, to your Shopify website. So you can do that as well. So you would say something like, you know, shop, or start shopping, or browse, something like that. And then that would send the user off to a place where they could connect with your e-commerce. So these things are, you're just trying to figure out what is your unique proposition. So what makes you different? So for me, this is what makes us different than just going to the news sites. So I can see how different it is that doesn't look like your traditional news site. That looks more like a social media feed. And then I can also see, not only are you bringing in headlines from around the world from these trusted news sources, but you're also combining that with another thing. So like this interesting combination of things. And then if I don't know about Skimmer, which most people don't know anything about this application, they can learn more. So I want the most people to click on learn more and sort of get excited about it, excited enough to try it. If they're just curious and they want to try it first and then come back and learn more about what they can do, then there's a button, there's a way for them to go and try it. But this, for your business, it could be make a phone call, it could be send an email, it could be contact us, go to a contact form or something like that, because you need leads and you need to be able to contact those people who are interested and reach out to them and have a conversation with them. So let's see if we have any more parameters or options here. Again, it would be nice to have that as a larger size, but not necessary right now. Oh, I said I was going to change the background color. So let's go to something a little bit lighter. So it was there, and now let's go to there. And I'll show you, once it opens in the browser, it'll be a little bit lighter. So this is actually on brand. You can see here that this light gray is actually, a little bit closer to this light gray. So we're trying to stay on brand. If you had the actual color, you could put the actual color in there. If I wanted to get the actual color, I could. It's what is it? There. Yeah, it's one of these. There it is, F9. So I could actually type that into the background, but this background is dark enough that it sort of separates these things out, which I like. So it doesn't have to be all the colors all the same way, but it does have the same look and feel between the dark gray color and this orange color, which is the actual spot on color, from the website. And then you can see those colors sort of reflected over here as well. So we have the white, we have a light gray, we have this darker gray. So you can see that there's a look and feel that's the same from one to the other. So that's really what we're going for. Okay, so the next section that we need to be concerned about is some sort of features, or when they click the learn more, what do we want them to learn more about? What do we want to tell them now that they're interested in hearing more about it? So this is an app, and what would you want to know about the app? Like, what can I do? What sorts of sources, news sources? So you're touting that I can get global news sources, but is it some unknown whatever? Is it a news source that I'm going to be interested in? And so I think going with news sources would be good. So let's see if we can find something here. And I'm going to go straight to features. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. Clients would be a good one. I like this one. So what I want to do is just sort of have a list of these top news sources, because I want people to get excited about this. Might be for your business. Who have you worked for? If you're working for Nike and Apple, and you're working for Microsoft, and you're doing things for CNBC, like if you're working for big brand names that people know, then you should tell that. because that's going to say, oh, these people who have a lot of money or they have a lot of public trust are trusting you. Or if you're working locally with businesses, and the people who would be looking for you locally know those people or those businesses, they're like, oh, okay, I understand. I trust these people, they trust these people, or I work with these tools, or these are the products that we sell. And then you have the brand logos. So if you're able to give some sort of proof or social proof about other people, and using sort of utilizing their brand in order to help your brand, then you should do that kind of thing. So for me, I think I'm touting the ease of a social media feed with the news sources you trust. So I need to sort of unpack that or expand that. So I'm going to start with the news sources. And when I click learn more, let's go ahead and connect these two. So I'm going to do a link. And instead of a web address, I'm going to do a custom URL. And I'm going to see if this works. It's been a while since I've used MobiRez, so let me see if this works. I don't know what this one is called. This is going to make it easier. It's called Clients 6. So I don't want to file. Okay, so here on the page. So I can click it to go to any page. I only have one page so far. But if I had other pages, I can make this link to a different page on the website. But I can also link it to a block that's on this home page. So I have 3 blocks. I have this header, I have this hero image, and then I have the one that I just created. So what I want to do is, it's called Client 6, and it even shows me a little preview of each section. So you can make it go to the bottom of the page, the top of the page, or to one of these sections that you put in. I want it to go to this Clients -6. So I'm going to click that, and then when I do insert link, whenever I look at it, it'll push, it's called an anchor link. It'll push you down the page instead of taking you to a whole other URL. It'll just take you to another section of the page. So you can see that it goes down. So there's not enough underneath here to push this all the way to the top. But if there were a bunch of content underneath that, it would make this top edge. It would scroll until that top edge is here at the top of the page. So that's what we want. When they click learn more, it takes them down the page, and then they're able to learn more about the product. And remember, we're going to start with the news sources you trust, and then the ease of a social media feed. So those are the two main propositions, the 2 main points that we want to sort of unpack and give examples, show news sources that people trust. And you can say, oh, okay, I do trust those news sources all the time. So maybe I'm getting something of value here. So we go down the page. Let's open MobiRez again. And we have some options here. So let's see what our options are. This is the top and bottom padding. So you can see if there's 0, the text is right up to the top of the section. Let's just increase that all the way. So we get padding on the top and the bottom of the page. And it's equal. We can show or hide the title. I do want to show the title, and I don't want to show the subtitle. I'm just going to say here, skim the news sources you trust. Or we could say, let's just say the news sources you trust, and then let's show the subtitle, and then we'll put down here skimmer skim headlines from over 100 of the top news sources from around the world. Okay, so let's go ahead and we want to change this background. What do we want it to be? I'm just going to start with white. So let me change that color to white. And this is okay. This feels okay to me. What are other options? I don't want to do autoplay. We can display how many of these that we show at one time. So I'm just going to choose 6, and I'm not going to and I'm only going to have 6. Can I get rid of the arrows? Color 2. What is color 2? Oh, that's for our gradient. Okay, that's not what I want. So I don't want a background gradient. Autoplay, 6 items. Show title, show subtitle. Okay. So I don't know if this is, since I have 6 items here, I'm just going to sort of rotate through them. Wish there was some way I could get rid of those arrows. Maybe I just don't have a good block. Do I need a better block? Yeah, looks like I have the best block that I can get. We'll just have to sort of make do with what we have, and it'll be okay to show these. If people want to scroll through them, they can. And when we go over here, you can see in our list of news sources that we have lots of different places. So there's BBC and Breitbart and Business Insider and CNBC, CNN, ESPN, Fox News, like all of these different really trusted news sources, including the New York Times, somewhere in the New York Times, and the Globe, TechCrunch, USA Today, Time, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. So there are some like legitimate news sources here that you'll be able to pull the headlines in and scroll through the news, the headlines. Wired, this is Chinese, Xinhua, this is Israeli. And so that's a part of it too, is it's a multilingual international app. So not only do you get the news from the United States or from Britain, but you're getting news from around the world. So if you clicked on, so here, I'm not sure what language this is, but you're getting it. So you can actually read contextualized news in another language, and you can get the news stories from those particular news sources. So I don't know if there's a way to really pull that in. Looks like our right to left isn't working on this. But there's just a ton of different sources that you can bring in from around the world, including multilingual sources. Now the default is going to be Reuters, because that's what I wanted. So that's the default. And we had to start with something. So you can change that and mix and match as well. So let's just go out and we'll try to pick the most relevant, the biggest names that we can. So one is going to be the BBC and CNN. and Fox News, maybe Mashable is a big one, MSNBC, maybe Newsweek or Politico. Was trying to get 6 logos, and the way that I would do that is I would just go to a place like Google Images, and I would start by searching CNN logo. Now they're going to give you if you can find one at Wikimedia, that's actually free for you to use. So I would just I would go to that one, and I would save the image onto my hard drive, onto my computer. And so let's just make a new folder here. So let's say news logos, not logog, logos. And then we'll enter into that, and then we'll just save the CNN logo in there. And then when we come back into our block here, we can just click on the image, and we can change. I don't want to do that. I want to browse the computer and change the image. So come back to our desktop. Our folder is called News Logos. We'll click on CNN, and we'll say OK. So now you can see we brought that CNN logo into our block, right? And so we would just basically do that for each of the logos that we want to bring in. So if you want to skip forward, you can. I'm not going to stop this any. So what did I say? CNBC. Again, Wikimedia is a good place to go and get this. I'm going to save it right into our folder and bring that in as well. Hopefully it will resize these. They're not it may not look the best right now. I would definitely go through and resize these a little bit. I don't think there's an option to do any sort of resizing here. So you would have to take care of the resizing and making these similar heights, which is really going to be the main concern with this, is that they're similar heights. But you can do that. I don't know if you can actually change the height, but let's see. You can flip it, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. Doesn't look like we can make it smaller. What we're doing is we're cropping it at this point, but we're not actually changing the size. So that's not exactly what we want. We would need to change the size of it, which I use a free program, and I'll just show you. It's called Fast Stone Image Viewer, and what it does is it allows you to open things up and do a bunch of sort of low-level editing to different images on your page. So you can see that this one is 597 pixels tall. This one is 1,000 pixels tall. That's why there's such a disparity between how tall they are. So I can right-click and go in and just edit the size, and I want the height to be 600 pixels, and then it'll resize the image. If I save it, I'm just going to save it over the top of the one that I downloaded, and then I'm going to go in and I'm just going to change it. Hopefully this will, let me see. I thought it would help with the sizing, but it's really not. if I change the size on this one. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. It would take a little work to sort of get those worked out. But this is the one I want. This is the one I don't want. So we'll just leave it like that. They're going to look a little bit strange. If I was really doing it for me, like this was a website I was doing, I know some code and some tricks and things, and I could go in and make those changes. But I want to try to avoid the code editor because maybe you don't have that. So let's do a few more. So again, I'm just trying to show you the entire process here. So I don't think the New York Times is on the list anymore, so that's actually not there. And BBC, let's do that one. So again, Wikipedia is going to be a good source. It's free to use, and let's just download that. A lot of these public companies, their assets like that are going to be publicly available. Okay, and what else do we have? Get rid of that. Fox News, maybe. Fox News is here. Just trying to think about the news sources that people would be using, right? So here's another one, Wikimedia. We'll save the image. Again, if you don't want to see how the sausage is made, feel free to just skip forward. Let's go with Mashable. Let's see. Got this one. That's all we got. I'd rather have this one or this one, but this is the one that we can get from Wikimedia. I just want to show that that's one of the sources. So we'll do two more. We'll do this Mashable, and then we'll do another one. Okay, so you can see that's not looking good. Not my favorite thing. I'm not going to go out and fix it right now, but that would be something to fix. So we could do Politico or TechCrunch or the Huffington Post, New York Times, like I said. I don't think that's on there anymore. Yeah. What's another one? Reuters, TechCrunch, Politico, the Huffington Post. Maybe the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post. I don't see a Wikimedia. There it is. Let's see, I really like this tall one. not the one that we have though. Boom. Let's just go ahead and see. This one is actually from the Wall Street Journal. I like that tall one a little bit better. Just realize that if you use certain images, like you would need to go to the Wall Street Journal website in order to get this. So we'll do that. Okay, so we have all of our news sources here. That took a little bit of time and effort. I would definitely make those all the same size with some sort of graphics program so that they all take up the same amount of space. So essentially I would put a box around each of them that's the same height, and then I would center it inside that box. But I'm not going to go through the trouble of doing that right now, because the point of this is to just show people, look, these are these sorts of news sites are the ones that you trust, and those are the ones that are going to be on the site or on the application. And then the other part is the ease of a social media feed. So after this, we want to put another block. And for this one, we're going to have maybe some kind of feature to show different things. I don't know exactly the best way. Maybe this one. That's a good one. Or this one. I like this one because it sort of reflects this a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll put that down here. I'll show you what I'm thinking. Again, we can change this this image to let's see, what do we have here? These are I think that's the same one. So let's go with this one that doesn't have any sort of wrapper around it. So it looks odd. I don't think we can put anything around it. We can't put a border or anything. Okay, well, I don't want to do that. I want to replace that. I want to have some sort of border around it. So we'll just put our main image there. When we go over here to our block properties, maybe we can change the media size a little bit. And then we'll just have to deal with some of these things here. Can we crop it? Yeah, let's do that. You can see that it's got a bunch of white space all around the outside of it. So if I go in and I crop this to just the image, it's actually going to make the image bigger, even though it seems like it would make it smaller. The image is going to stay small because it's taking up so much space in this container on the web page. If we take away some of this outside space, it's actually going to allow this to grow bigger. So let's just do that. You can see it got bigger right there. And you can see that it gets a lot bigger over here. That's a little too big. So let's go back down to where we were when we started. That's going to take up 50% of the page. But you can see that it does give you a lot nicer image to work with. And we could even, we could pull this down quite a bit like that. So it gives us a nice little 1/3, 2/3 ratio or something like that. So we can show the title, we can show the subtitle, the text header is this little part here, or you can just have an icon. You can just have icons with little headers to be labels. You can not show icons. I think I'd just do that. You can put the media on the right instead of the left. I want to keep it on the left. So we're kind of zigzagging our way through the page. We come down here, we read through, we get to here, we come back down, and now I'm seeing the application, and I get the text here. How many cards are there? So you can do just 1 or 2. We did our media size already. Background color, we'll stick with that. And let's just see if we can fill in some of this content. So where we have the news sources you trust, we'll just say a social media like feed. Perfect for skimming. Okay. So what do we want to say about it? If we go back to our site, let's choose a better source. If we go back to our site, so what is it about it being a social media feed? Skim the headlines. I want to point out that you can build your own feed. So if you go down here and you click multiple sources, then you click build feed, it actually takes those different sources. So Al Jazeera, Associated Press, Argom, and it builds a whole feed and combines all those sources together and sort of makes one big super feed with all the news sources that you want to see. And so this is sort of a cool feature that's actually been requested by users after version 1. So I want to make sure I do that. So I suppose we'll take off the icons. Okay, so I'm going to just click through in this block here, and I'll point that out first. So what I'll say is build, combine, build your own newsfeed. And then with this text here, I'm just going to give a little explanation of how you can do that. Combine multiple news sources into one easy to skim feed. And so that's going to be one feature. And the other feature is that it's a mobile first sort of design. So Skimmer was built to be read on mobile phones and tablets. You can also download it to your phone. So add it to your home screen. So you can add it to your home screen to easily access news headlines throughout the day. So maybe not mobile first design, maybe a web app, something like that. I suppose we could just we could probably interchange these two things. I'm gonna make these a little bit bigger. So instead of, let's just make it bold. Just something a little bit more noticeable. Like that. And I wish I could make it a little bigger, like that. So I like that. Again, we want to stay consistent with our what do you call them? Initial caps. And that looks pretty good to me. I don't know if there's a way to add a button or something here. Doesn't look like it. I want to take off this subtitle. That's not, maybe. Let's see. What can we say about it being a social media like feed? Skimmer was created Skimmer gives you it's a supercharged web app that gives you makes it easy to skim the top headlines from news sources you trust. So we're just going to keep hammering home the fact that they are headlines from news sources you trust. So I'm just going to keep hammering that home. So using Skimmer is as easy as scrolling through your social media feed. It's a supercharged web app that makes it easy to skim the top headlines from news sources you trust. So we're sort of putting in some keywords there, things that we might want people to be able to find us with, but they're also our main features of the product. So it's like a social media feed, and it lets you know this is probably going to be really easy to use and something that's familiar. That's the whole goal. I'm looking at it and I'm hearing about it, and it looks like, yeah, that would be something that's super easy for me to use. It looks like Twitter, or it looks like Instagram, or it looks like these different applications that I'm already accustomed to using. But then there's these unique features here where you can build your own news feed. Well, that's kind of interesting, where you can combine multiple feeds together into one feed. And then it's a modern web application, so it's made for consuming on a phone or tablet. Again, we'll keep our consistency there. So at this point, we want to put one more call to action. So we have this call to action up here. We want to put one more call to action at the bottom, just to make it super obvious what people need to do. Let's see if they have something like that. What I'm looking for is just one button that says, go here, do this thing. Okay, it's going to be something like this. Here we go. Something like this. Is that the one? It's going to be like that, but let's see. We just want to make sure that we have some text and a button. That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to go with one of these first ones. Here we go. That's what we're looking for. Okay, just put it down there at the bottom. I want this background to be this color, just so that it stands out. Remember, this is our color here. So that means we need to make this white, or we'll do almost white. And this text is going to be the same. Actually, we're going to get rid of that text. So let's get rid of the text. And here, let's just go ahead and say, try skimmer. Let's put that into our button. I don't know, something goofy. Get skimming today. That doesn't make any sense, but it'll be okay. And then we have our call to action there. There's try skimmer, and let's go ahead and just make that nice and dark on this background. Maybe we'll say start. One of the taglines I always wanted to use was get the news and get on with your life. Yeah, that's a good place to put it. So this will be after you've learned more. So you hear it here, you come down here, you get a list of news sources that you can try, or you'll be able to see that these news sources are available. And then you get another product shot, a little bigger than before, but you get the text on the page, which is telling you a little bit more about the features. And then as you scroll down, you get bam, it's right in your face. Here's another call to action. There's one already up here. We're not gonna keep highlighting this bar up here. If you're getting here and you wanna try it already, you can try it. But this one's gonna be really in your face. And then I just wanna put a tiny footer on the bottom so we can come here and we can look at our footers. Now I just want something super simple like this. Just a dark color, maybe with some social media stuff in it. Let's see. I don't want it to be too elaborate. So let's take this one and we'll get rid of that block. Let's try one of the other ones. Let's try this one. Okay, this is a good one because it'll let us put social media stuff in here. So let's see what our options are. So I can remove the menu items and just get rid of those. I want a little bit more padding on top and bottom, like that. And the background color is going to be the color that we've been using in our theme. That's fine. The reveal effect, what is it? Not sure what that is. We'll try it. And then how many social items? Really, there's only 2 things that I have social media wise. There's a Twitter account and then there's a Facebook account for this. So that's what we're going to put down here. And then we can always change this actual text. So copyright 2018 to 2020 skimmer. Something like that. And then I don't think we have any real options there. Can do italics or no real options there. But let's look at these. Okay, so we have our I've clicked the icon, and this icon is linking to this web address. But my my URL for Skimmer is Skimmer News. So it's at Skimmer News, and we'll just insert that link. You can see that you can choose some other types of icons if you want a different social media whatever. There's different styles. Material design is a different style. That's sort of what the style that Google uses. So they have all their icons in here. So you can just sort of mix and match and do different things. If you want to create a specific size for your icon, you can. If you want to create a specific color for your icon, then you can. Because, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should just make the icon white. Or this almost white. Okay. And then when you hover over it, then it's going to be a white color, so you can see that. And the Facebook page for Skimmer, I can't remember. I don't get on the Facebook page very much. Yeah, maybe I don't have that. I thought I did have a Facebook page for it. Maybe not. Okay. Well, if not, then we'll just leave it at whatever it is. So we'll leave it for only one social media, and that's on Twitter, right? So we'll just do one. Okay. So I think that's the footer. Sort of a basic, bare bones footer. Nothing particularly interesting about the footer other than you can go to the social media page. But excuse me, what a footer does is it allows the user to know we're stopping, so the page doesn't go farther than this. So it's important to have something down there, just to let them know. Don't try to keep scrolling. Nothing's broken. We're stopping the page. It's getting a conclusion. Okay. All right. So here's what we have, and let me just show you a preview of it. It's going to take a minute to zip up all these files, and show us a preview of them. Okay, so we have just our basic landing page. We have a little bit about the app, sort of the top level things that we want people to know. They can learn more, or they can go ahead and click and try the application. They can also try it up here. If I click here, then it shows, these are news sources that are a part of Skimmer. So Skimmer skim headlines from over 100 of the top news sources from around the world, and it's validated here. These are the top news sources in the world. And then there's a social media like feed that's perfect for skimming. So more value proposition here. It's as easy to scroll as your social media feed, so there's nothing necessarily new to learn as far as the user experience is concerned. And it's a web app and allows you to skim top headlines from news sources you trust. Okay, and then you get a little bigger picture here. You get a couple of features that are part of this social media like experience, and then you can try it with this little tagline here. And I want to go ahead and make this image just a little bit bigger like we did with the other one. So I click on the image, I go to edit it, and I'm going to do a similar thing I did before. I'm just going to get rid of some of this white space that's around it, and that's actually going to make the image larger. Okay, now that's too big. So we come in and we need to adjust our image size. Maybe like that. So this gives us a little bit more to play with here. Maybe like that. Okay. So you could even put more text in here. You could put a different call to action. You could try to even this up. You can make this text a little bit bigger. So instead of that, you can make it a little bigger like that. There are a few different things that you can do with this particular with this text right here. So I think that's our page. So let's go ahead and do this again, and we can see it with the new image. It just feels like it takes up a little bit more of the screen space, and you'll be able to see it a little bit better. I'll also show you the mobile version. You'll be able to see the mobile version as well. Okay, so now we have a little bit bigger picture. Remember when we added the title text to the image? That's what happens when you roll over. So you get the title text. We have our buttons here. We could do specific text for each of these. We never went back and did the alt text for this particular image, but we could do that as well. Probably should. And let me show you what it looks like on mobile. So yeah, I'm using Chrome, so it's Control-Shift-I on a Windows machine, and that brings up the developer tools. And then you click on the responsive toggle down here, and it gives you some different breakpoints up here that you can just click on, and you can see what it looks like on those different breakpoints. Now we don't really need this on mobile, so we'll have to look at that. But you can see that everything sort of comes down on mobile sizes and looks pretty okay. We can actually go in and affect the different mobile sizes. So let me see. to think if I can affect the mobile side, like what happens on mobile. Maybe not. So we can still make all of our changes here on the front end. But it looks like you're only able to make the changes whenever you're in the full screen mode. But if this were my app, I would make sure that this stayed here all the time, and that it wasn't on mobile. It would just be the button would be there all the time. But the idea is that you probably have multiple pages or you have multiple links that are up at the top, like a menu. And so the way it looks here on mobile is probably fine for most people. But that is our application. And you can see, again, this is what it's going to look like. Let's see, did we get rid of it? Yeah. But I showed you the preview. And then after that, you would simply publish the files. You can publish it to a local folder. So that means it's just somewhere on the machine that you're using. You can connect to your web host or your server via FTP, so a file transfer protocol, which allows you to just simply transfer the files directly to the server and change the files on the server. Or you can use GitHub and create a whole new repo for GitHub and post your website to a GitHub account. GitHub is free for you to use, and as long as you're actually, they have private repos now, so you can send it to a private a repo, and that will allow you to keep the files hidden from normal people. That way no one's stealing any proprietary information or anything. And then you can connect a URL to that particular thing. And connecting URLs is something you should contact your web host about, or the place where you got your URL, if it's GoDaddy or whatever, and they'll show you how you can connect it to your hosting account. I don't think I've ever really covered how to do that, but it's something that you could certainly do if you wanted to. And then in this, it's showing you, do you only want to publish the changes that you made? So it'll only upload the files that you've changed. So to export the whole site as a project, like let's say you want to archive this MobiRise project, not just the website files, but the entire project, so that you can open it on another computer using MobiRise, then you would go to site settings here and click on export site. So you want to give the site a name. So you say skimmer skimmer landing page, and then you would export the site like this, and essentially it takes the whole website, including the MobiRise specific files, and puts it into a folder. And then you can take that folder, put it on another computer, and then import the site back into MobiRise. Excuse me. And you would do that through somewhere. I think you do it through your sites, right? So you would click import a MobiRise site, and basically you would just go click on that folder and then say open, and then it would import that site if you're using a different computer somewhere, or you wanted to send those files to someone else to be able to work on it also. You would send them those files, that folder of files, and then they could import the site into a MobiRise installation on their own computer, because this is not a web program. This is only on your computer when you download MobiRise, which is good and bad. Good in the sense of, as good as your computer is, that's how fast it's going to be. Bad in the sense of, being able to share things back and forth between people is not as easy. But they do have an import-export option. So if you have any questions about that kind of stuff, I've actually covered quite a few of those things on my playlist that I have on my channel. But hopefully this gives you a good start to finish thinking about a small business website, what needs to be on it, how can it be done, and then how can you use MobiRise to create that website. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down in the comment section. If there are things that you'd like me to cover, I'm happy to go back through. I really like MobiRise. I like it for small businesses and for people who have small projects. It's really easy to use, easy to update, and I use it for my own smaller projects. And so I've really appreciated the ease of use of building a site with it over the years, and this is my job. I build websites every day. So I'm a big proponent of MobiRise, and so that's why I've been pushing it so much on my channel. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, click subscribe and then click the bell, and then you'll get notifications whenever I post new videos. Feel free to message me in the community tab of my YouTube account, or you can connect with me on Twitter. And yeah, I think that's it. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.